Everyone. So today I want to talk about your first program. We did end the previous set of slides with a Hello World program, but if you're still having trouble understanding how to compile and what that all means, that is what this is for. And even if you did get it working, don't worry, there's more information here for you to learn about. So it won't be boring. So remember, you always start with a Hello World program just to get used to the syntax. So a lot of this is just mechanical typing, practice, and just getting used to things. The first line in any Java program is going to be public class and then the name of your class. So that's capital W, welcome. And I have an open curly brace here. Then I'm going to do public static void main, open parentheses, string, open square bracket, close square bracket, args, close parentheses, open curly brace. We're going to display the hello world message, which we will do with a system.out.println. And then I'm going to display one more message, which is system.out.print 9 times 2 equals. And then in both cases, inside the print and the println, the text that you have in there is inside double quotes. Then I'm going to display the result of 9 times 2. It's a computer. It's going to do a basic calculation for you, so I'll just have it print out the result 9 times 2. Close curly brace, close curly brace. So I'm assuming that you have some text editor open on your computer to be able to do this. The one that I'm using on my own computer is VS Code, but honestly any text editor will work. If you are on a Linux or Mac computer, you should be able to open something like Vim even in the terminal, but these are somewhat more advanced and might require becoming a power user to do this. In any case, even like Notepad++ will work. So whatever it takes, create a welcome.java file on your computer. And it's going to be saved as welcome.java. Make sure that .java is the ending of your file. Whatever it takes, Control S and name it welcome.java. Okay, the example that I'm using for my own computer, this is Windows, so it might look a little bit differently if you are on a Unix type of system or on a Mac. However, what you need to get out of this is understand that there's a concept of directories, where things are actually saved on your computer. The easiest thing to do on a Windows is to open up Explorer, and then down at the bottom, you should be able to find this PC and then local disk C. And after that, you should be able to see a list of folders. I'm navigated towards users, and I'm under the name of my own computer, which is eTurn, and I've created a new directory called CSC116. Now, I don't actually care where you save things, but in most cases, it's easiest to save things under users, your name, and then create a subdirectory under that. Okay? If you are on a Mac, you should also be able to find something that looks like users, your name. If you are on a Unix type system, it might look like home instead of users. So it should be home/your name instead. Now, this is on Git Bash. You can use Git Bash if you are on a Windows computer. That should look something like this. The color scheme should be the same as well. If you are on a Mac or Unix, you can actually go directly to the terminal, which is already available on your computer. I know that on a Mac, you can get to the terminal by looking at your dock, and there's a black box with a white arrow symbol in it. That's the terminal. You can also open up Launchpad and type in the word terminal to open terminal. There might be some other ways to navigate there, but hopefully you should be able to find terminal on your computer. And there are many flavors of Linux that you might be using, so I'm not sure where terminal will be found relative to that, but hopefully you can find it. Now, when you open up your terminal, it should say your name and at the name of your computer. So that's why it says eTurn at desktop blah. what I'm going to do is I'm going to do cd tilde. These are some Unix commands that I know we might not be familiar with quite yet, but the point is that it takes you to this directory named tilde. And that tilde should put you in users your name. Since I am on a Windows, it'll be C users my name, which is etern. And if you are on a Mac, it should still say users etern. If you are on a Linux, it would say home your name. So you're going to use pwd as the way to get where you are in the directory. So cd tilde references users your name. Now let's talk about compiling your program. The way that I had it saved, it was on a folder called CSC116. So I'm going to cd into that folder. Right, so cd means change directories. I had a CSC116 folder named under users etern. Now, you'll notice that on my terminal, the naming has changed on where it says I am. It used to say I was at tilde, and now it's at tilde/CSC116. Now, if I type in ls, which means list, basically, it's going to list all the files and directories that I have in here. So I have welcome.class and welcome.java. The class file is what gets created when you compile, and the welcome.java file is the one that you saved. Now, to compile, you're going to do javac welcome.java. So the welcome.java is the file that you created. You are going to compile it, and it actually updates the welcome.class file. So each time you make a change to your program and resave it, you should also recreate and compile your program again. So I already had welcome.class. It's going to update and refresh that welcome.class file. Now, if I run welcome.java, it'll run the program that I have written. Okay, and that's it. So all of this is assuming that you are able to get to some sort of text editor, save a file as welcome.java in a directory that you can find and that you can navigate to with both Finder/Explorer and with your terminal. If things are not saved in the right place, then this is not going to work out for you. And of course, you need to ensure that you also have Java installed on your computer. On a Linux type system, it should already be there, especially if you're using a lab computer. But on your own computer, you will need to install the JDK. Let's go through what actually happened. So now, hopefully everybody's got things running and practically everything is working. So let's talk about what actually happened. When you write that welcome.java file, you're writing a source code. And then when you do javac welcome.java, you compile your high-level code into bytecode. Bytecode is where the Java compiler converts your code into a format that will be able to run on many different computer types. So that class file can actually run on different computers. And then finally, you are going to run, or also known as execute, the file. So when you compile, it created welcome.class, and then I'm going to run it, and that's going to create that output, which it just did that system.out.println that I asked about. Now let's look at the structure of our Java program. I already pointed this out. This is something you have already typed if you're following along. It's public class name. I named it welcome. And then I did public static void main string args. So class is going to be the name of your program. You're going to name it with a capital letter. You can use multiple words, but you'll squash them all together into a single word. It's usually expected if you do that you would have the second word also be capitalized. But we can talk about that more in a second. Then inside your main, you are basically creating statements. These are the commands that are going to be executed. The one that you wrote was a system.out.println, so it literally just printed out to your terminal. Now, this thing called main is what's called a method, which we'll talk about in more detail later, but it's a named group of statements. So main just sort of like grabs everything and puts it together. And what you'll notice here as well is the method has an open and closed curly brace kind of telling you that this is the stuff that's in this sort of group together. And then furthermore, you have name, which has an open and closed curly brace. So that closes out the whole program. Every executable Java program consists of a class that contains a method named main that contains the statements to be executed. You can have more than one class, you can have more than one method, but we'll talk about that later on. Now, the system.out.println, let me explain what that actually means. A statement that prints a line of output on the console. There are two ways to use system.out.println. You could just do system.out.println inside quotes, put whatever text you want in there. You can also just like print a blank line of output. So println, the ln actually gives a new line at the end of the output. You must name your program. So I said for the first program we called it welcome. It was a one word thing, but let's say we're doing something a little bit different. Let's say we're trying to write this thing called substitution cipher decoder. So you'll notice here that the kind of expectation for the way that you name your classes is with capital letter. You have to have capital letters, and then further words will also be capitalized. So it's capital S substitution, capital C cipher, capital D decoder, and it's all smushed together, no spaces. Now, when you name your file, when you do Control S or Command S, whatever it takes to save that file on your computer, your program's file name must match exactly the name of that class. So if I've named this class Substitution Cipher Decoder, the file name should be Substitution Cipher Decoder.java, and it has to have the same capitalization. Java is case sensitive. Here I have some keywords that are available in Java. Usually it should be the case that if you're using kind of a fancier text editor, that it will actually be highlighted because it knows what the Java syntax is. These keywords are identifiers that you cannot use because it already has a special meaning in Java. Certain words that we've seen before include class, public, static, and void. Now, these words cannot be used elsewhere in your program as variable names or anything like that because Java already has a reserved meaning for them. Now, technically, Java is case sensitive, so instead of like writing all lowercase class, you could have like kind of this meme thing going on with like lowercase c, capital L, whatever, just some weird combination. But this is really confusing, so make sure to use different words. And you can combine different words together, of course. I'm going to have these escape sequences. So we were just talking about system.out.println. An escape sequence is a sequence of characters that are used for special characters in a string. So \t is a tab character if you want to have that printed out on your console. \n is a new line. \quotes will give you quotation marks, and \\/ will give you a backslash. So for example, you could write system.out.println, you open with quotes, and then just, you can experiment with like different \t and \n combinations, and it'll give you like a weird kind of output. Well, I mean, it's the output that you told it to give you. So on the previous slide, we had the keywords, and on this slide, we have escape sequences. So these are things that you're going to have to eventually get accustomed to and kind of memorize in Java so that you can use them appropriately in your programs when it becomes time to do so. I'm going to leave you with a practice problem. How many visible characters does the following println statement produce when run? You may pause this video to try this out in your welcome.java program, recompile and run it and find the answer. The next practice problem I have for you is what is the output of the following println statements, and I have here a variety of println statements. So again, edit your welcome.java file to write these out as they are on this slide and then have it print out so that you can answer this question. And you may pause this video. And then finally, the final practice problem that I have for you is to write a println statement that produces this output with a variety of forward slashes and backslashes. Okay, and I'm going to leave this with you as practice so that you can get more accustomed to what's happening with compilation and doing system.out.println.